Greetings, peace, and blessings to you, your family, and loved ones. My name is Nana Bakai, and what I would like to do today is to continue the reading that I got for you. Well, actually, I got it for Donald J. Trump, and just kind of give you a little more insight into the reading in terms of how it applies to Donald Trump and how we can look at the personality that he's expressing in his everyday interactions with everybody he knows, including you and me, especially since he's about to be the next president of the United States. Again, I want to explain that I'm using the I Ching. Sometimes they call it the Jing. Now, it's an ancient oracle system that dates back 5,000 years. Back in those days, it was primarily used by a small group of individuals who were advisors to the emperor or the leaders of the time. Nowadays, the I Ching has become more of a tool for almost anyone who wishes to consult it for various different reasons: who to marry, what to buy, where to live, where to work, what about your health, mental, emotional, spiritual health, relationships, etc. The more contemporary versions are more reflective of contemporary times. The book that I use is called the I Ching, the Book of Changes. Actually, I Ching means Book of Changes, and it was translated from Mandarin into German by Richard Wilhelm, and it was translated by one of his students named Wilhelm-Baynes into English. Back in the day, in 1980s, when I was beginning to study the oracle, there were very few books to pick from. Nowadays, there are many, many books you can pick from to help you use the oracle and understand the readings that you get. A companion book that I use in my workshop is called the I Ching Workbook by R.L. Wing. This workbook is very good as far as I'm concerned in helping you to understand what Wilhelm and Wilhelm-Baynes have interpreted from Mandarin, for me at least, because it is very much in alignment with what the Wilhelm-Baynes is saying. I strongly encourage you to get that particular book as a companion. There's a bunch of other ones, and if you go to my channel, you can see a book list or what have you, and that will help you to look at some other versions of the I Ching. But for me, I like the Wilhelm-Baynes primarily, and I particularly like the workbook as a companion to that. Now we're going to talk about the life path reading, and we're going to talk about how important it is. And it's a reading that's only done once, and it can be referred to throughout your entire life. It shows us what our soul's purpose is, why our soul came here through our particular vehicle. Our vehicle is the venue, so to speak, through which the soul can learn lessons, and also through which the soul can teach from its past experiences in other incarnates and from its current experience in this particular incarnation. Okay? Now, I'm going to advise you to get a life path reading before you get anything else, but if you don't, that's fine. I think that getting that life path reading, no matter how old you are, how young you are, it's like finding out about astrology when you're 40 and going and getting astrology reading. Same difference. Finding out what the I Ching has to say about your life, your soul's purpose, and doing that as well. It doesn't matter how old you are. Donald is 78 years old, but this reading applies, and you will see when I'm telling you what the reading is saying, you'll go, wow, that does sound like him. Even those people who are very close to him will have to agree. I also would like to mention that the new year is coming, and for many people, that's a time for celebration, a time for creating resolutions, etc. I give a yearly focus reading I offer that for my students and for anyone else who's wishing to get that. And what it does is it helps you to see how you can go through the next 12 months and how you can be effective as you're moving through the next 12 months. It covers business, career, finances, interpersonal relationships, health, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And any other question that you may need to ask, we can also cover that as well. So contact me by going to the link in the description below, and we can set up an appointment for you to get your yearly focus read. What I like about the I Ching is that it's not a fortune teller. I've tried that. It didn't give me any numbers. It didn't give me any, it just gave me proverbs and guidance on how to deal in situations, even though I was trying to hit the lottery, okay? The Oracle is one of the most incorruptible Oracle systems you can use. In fact, if you approach the Oracle with a bias, the Oracle will respond to your bias. And you have to remember that. It will respond to your bias. So please clear your mind, center your spirit, and try as much as you can to ask questions that do not contain a bias. That too, you will learn how to do in my I Ching workshops. So let's go on and look at what we've got for Donald J. Trump. So let's do a little overview. We asked the Oracle the most immediate incarnation objective for Donald J. Trump. Kofi, born on Friday. If he was born in Ghana, his name would be Kofi. All right. Now, the incarnation objective, the most immediate, what it expresses is the most profound reason why we are here. Not why we are here, why our soul incarnated through us in this particular age, time, etc. It points to what stands out the most. It's not that there are no other objectives or lessons to be learned or lessons to be taught through our experiences with others. It's just that it stands out more so than any other reason why we have incarnated or our soul incarnated. We got to remember we are vessels of the divine spark, which is our soul. So Donald J. Trump's soul incarnated through his particular lineage, environment, experience, etc. for a particular reason, to learn and to teach. All right, so also I want to add your incarnation objective for those of you who are interested in getting that reading is what you do well and what you do not. So you'll have moments when you're doing it well, you feel like you're really in your groove, you're doing it, and other times you're not doing so well. The 34th hexagram is the hexagram of the great leader, the charismatic leader, the cult leader, in fact. So you will have a Jim Jones, a Hitler, Abraham Lincoln, Genghis Khan, you name it, Stalin, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, these individuals have the charisma enough to gather people around them, but even more importantly, to make people listen. When they walk in the room, they carry a certain essence that makes people turn around and look like, oh, so-and-so just walked in the room. All right? It's not anything that they have to develop. They don't have to cultivate it. But they have to refine it. And the reason being is because they're born with this energy, they can become egomaniacs because people flock to them, or people listen to them, or people value what they have to say. I call this the hexagram of do it because you should, not because you could. They have indomitable power in the spirit. In other words, They are very strong-willed, oftentimes obstinate, and they can be bullies. They can also be bossy. They can be control freaks. Now, why am I saying this about this particular hexagram? Let me tell you a little bit about my teacher, who taught me back in 1982 how to work with the I Ching. First, I was told to read the judgment and the image, and we work with the Wilhelm-Baynes Book of Changes, which is one of the most difficult books to understand. And then to read each and every line. Study, study, study. Not just toss the coin and go straight to the line. No, no, no. Every hexagram tells a story. Every hexagram is a parable. It's sort of like if you pick up the Bible and you just read one verse. If you read it outside the context of not one verse, right? If you read it outside of the context within which that verse is written, then you may get a skewed idea of what that verse is actually saying. It happens with the I Ching as well. Every number that you see here, these numbers that you see here, let me show you what I mean. These numbers, 34, 14, 18, 32, 25, and 13. They are all numbers that are assigned to the different hexagrams in the oracle system. There are 64 hexagrams, and you can get 66 variations on a theme. If you multiply 64 times 6 variations, you will get somewhere 4,000 some odd number of reading. So what I am trying to express here is that there is a plethora of ways that the oracle can present itself to you, which is one of the reasons why I use a unique version, which is here, where I ask for deeper insight. Let me give me some deeper insight into what the oracle is saying. Okay, so let's begin. Let's look at this 34. Let's look at what Donald J. Trump's soul incarnated, for this incarnation. What is it here to do? Well, it's here to be manifesting itself through the leadership of Donald J. Trump. And he's been a leader his entire life, okay? What it is here to learn is how to be the best leader he can be. This hexagram I call do it because you should, not because you could. And so Donald Trump will do stuff just because he could do it. I did it, whatever. And that is where he can fall off the mark, where he can run into trouble, where he can find himself in difficulty, because doing it because you could do it is not necessarily the best reason for doing a thing. And the oracle is advising the individual all the way through the lines. Pay attention. Don't be so obstinate. Don't just jump out there and do something. Be careful. Have retrospect and be introspective, contemplative, and all of that. But this individual gets an idea in their mind and they go for it. And it's very difficult to bring them back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to that top line of 34 and read to you what the oracle in the Wilhelm-Baynes book says about that top line. It says, a goat butts against a hedge. It cannot go backward. It cannot go forward. Now remember, goats have horns, right? And when that goat butts against that hedge, its horns get stuck. Nothing serves to further. Now, why did that go crashing into that hedge? Did it not know the possibility that its horns may get caught there, and now it has to struggle to get its head free? It says, if one notes the difficulty, okay, I should have been more circumspect, introspective, and retrospective, and thinking ahead before I just crash myself into the hedge. It says here, if you note the difficulty, this brings good fortune. So there's an opportunity for him to do the right thing, okay? If he can pull himself back from his narcissistic ego, and he'll be able to do the right thing. It says, if we venture too far, we come to a deadlock, unable to either move forward or to move backward. And whatever we do merely serves to complicate things further. Such obstinacy leads to insuperable difficulties. But if realizing the situation, we compose ourselves and decide not to continue, everything will right itself in time. So that's where he finds himself achieving when he composes himself, takes some time to think. It's like, think before you move. This is the 34th hexagram, and that's that top line right there. Think before you act. Now, what happens is with the 14th hexagram is when he does think before he acts, he is more successful in his ventures, in his accomplishments. When he's not, then he's not quite as successful. The 14th hexagram tells us that this person is very, very talented. Whatever they set their mind to, they do excellent. This person can be considered sometimes a, naturally gifted individual. They're also very, very sensitive. They're sensitive to what's happening around them, the emotions of the individuals around them as well. And so you might see with Donald Trump that he's able to interact based on the fact that he can sense and feel the emotion in the crowd. So he knows what to say here, he knows what to say there. He may even sound like he's contradicting himself sometimes. Well, that's a Gemini for you. This man was born on, what's this here? The June, I have it here. There it is. He's born June 14th. And like I said before, my mother, my brother, my son, and my granddaughter, and my best friend, all Geminis. We're going to go back to the oracle here, and we're going to look at the 14th hexagram. Now, like I said, this person is very, very talented, and can basically do a number of things very well. However, with the 14th hexagram, if you do not use your talent for the benefit of others, you're going to have a problem. The oracle is like, it doesn't matter how much you possess. If you do not share your possessions with others, they mean nothing. And that's the thing. This person can be very generous, but they can also be very selfish. What I am saying here is this is what you do well and what you do not do well at all. This person can be very emotionally connected to the individuals around them, and they can be very emotionally unavailable to anyone around them. Okay, that's how it works. You have the light side of it, and you have the dark side of it. You have the yin side of it and the yang side of it. The yin side of it is the dark side. The yang side of it is the light side. The yin side represents earth, the mother. The yang side represents the sky, the father. Okay. Moving forward, what I do in my way of interpreting the I Ching, I move from the hexagram itself, changing line, and the resulting second hexagram, and I ask the oracle to give me deeper insight right here. What is the oracle telling me about the 34th hexagram? Every situation is different, and so I can't apply the 34th hexagram in total to Donald Trump, because that 34th hexagram will be different to another individual. based on environment, how they were trained, groomed, raised, where they lived, what they learned, how they traveled, etc. And so it will vary from individual to individual. In this particular case, we're looking at decay. This hexagram is also called work on what has been spoiled. What has been spoiled? Work on that, which means that Donald Trump was born into an environment that has been spoiled. The oracle explains how in the 18th hexagram. And again, you have to read all the lines in order to understand what they're talking about. If you just go to the 4th line and 6th line, it's not going to make any sense. Or you're going to have a longer, harder time understanding what the I Ching is talking about. Where does this decay come from? It comes from tradition. It comes from a long generational process of something getting worse and worse and worse over time. He was born into a situation where the energy, the environment was getting worse and worse and worse, and particularly in his family experience. The hexagram decay, work on what has been spoiled, also infers mental and emotional distortions that come down through the generations. And also, if you're looking at the 34, which is here, what we're saying now is that decay comes through how individuals in his family line approached leadership. They approached leadership in a bombastic way, in a know-it-all way, in a bossy way, in a my way or the highway way, okay? And they were smart, they were talented, they were gifted, but they were more tyrannical than they were compromising, than they were willing to negotiate, okay? And so what Donald Trump is here to do is to figure out how he can negotiate rather than tell someone what to do, how he can move outside of that paradigm in which his family functioned, his father, his grandfather, his great-grandfather. And ironically, the 18th hexagram focuses more on the distortion of the yang, more so than the distortion of the yin. So the yang, or the male principle, is more distorted in the 18th hexagram in terms of what the father did, the grandfather, great-grandfather, etc. And that was what his soul incarnated into, that experience of having these bombastic people, these obstinate people, these narcissistic individuals as well, and how they managed their experiences. And so Donald Trump has to learn how to do better than what his ancestors did. Spoiled by the father is the 4th line right here. And the top line says, he does not serve kings and princesses. He sets himself higher goals. Now, that, my friends, is a very good portent for this hexagram, as this is the dynamic. Being a leader coming from the 34th hexagram, that type of leader, is difficult for them to subordinate themselves to anyone else. They want to be up there with the princes and the kings. They don't want to serve the princes and the kings. They want to be the princes and the kings. And what happens with these individuals is that in their obstinacy, in their almost automatic expression of their own higher experience of themselves, they often step over the little guy. They often ignore the little guy because they feel that they should be in the limelight. They've been in the limelight all of their lives, So why not be in the limelight now as an adult? Now, Donald Trump is 78 years old, so you can imagine he has been struggling with this all of his life. There have been times when he was able to subordinate himself and serve the masses. And then there were times when he was like, no, I ain't serving nobody. I'm the king. I'm the king of the jungle, you know? And so that's where some of his distortions would come into play. With this hexagram 18 working what has been spoiled, he has an opportunity to change that with that top line changing. However, it won't be easy. With the 32, we're looking at duration here. This hexagram says that there is a restlessness within him. And it's sort of like, I know I'm supposed to be the king, but I might sit it out for a while. And we could see that manifesting through the whole trial thing, where he just would not give up. He was determined that he was going to get back in the office of presidency no matter how many court cases they threw at him. He had a determination, which was coming from the 34, but also was coming from his restlessness of, why am I unseated out of the seat I'm supposed to be in? And in this particular hexagram, the oracle talks about how you're supposed to be mostly centered and doing what is in front of you, and not up trying to fill your plate up with more and more things to do. But it's hard for a person who has the 32nd hexagram in their life path reading. It's very hard for them to sit still. They are not anxiety. It's not an anxiety thing. It's an anxious thing, a restlessness. And when I see the 42nd hexagram, I understand what that restlessness is. When I see the 32nd hexagram, I understand what that restlessness means and how it can be a problem for someone who needs to be focused long term. Start a project, stay with it, endure, and not worry about what's going to happen tomorrow, the next day. The oracle talks about how you don't worry about the night while you're experiencing the day, and you don't worry about the day while you're experiencing the night. However, with that restlessness, you're wondering, what's going to happen tonight? What's going to happen tonight? What's going to happen tomorrow? What's going to happen tomorrow? And the top line, which is not changing here, which is why I say you have to read the lines so you can understand what the oracle, the whole hexagram is talking about. I use the term oracle, but I'm specifically mentioning the 32nd hexagram. What it's talking about is the need to be still, the need to not try to reach and do more than is necessary in the moment, the need to not worry about tomorrow and while you're living today. And that's hard for a lot of us, of course. But when it's in your incarnation objective, it's super hard. Okay. So the next thing is, when we put this together, combine it with this 34, the 18, and the 32, we're looking at a story that's being told. This story is telling us that this man has the power to be a great, he was born to be a leader. No doubt about it. Charismatic, presence, abilities to shine, and to stand above the others, right? To stand out in a crowd, so to speak, right? This is the kind of guy that he is. Of course, it also kind of comes into play as far as him being so tall. So he stands out in the crowd, but as he's standing out in the crowd, he has to be circumspect of the impact that he has on this crowd. He has to think about the way that his father and his grandfather and his great-grandfather, etc., managed their leadership role in life. He has to be aware of how they did it and to try to not do it, not to make the mistakes that they made, to reap the benefits of what they did do well, but to kind of move away from those things that they did not do so well. He has the responsibility to do that as a father figure, even to take care of those things that need to be repaired, work on what has been spoiled. He also needs to be in some type of counseling, some type of mental health counseling, in order to augment any of the impact that those leaders ahead of him, his father, his grandfather, etc., may have imposed upon him genetically, right? So that he can be more stable and more balanced. However, his stability and his balance is always going to be challenged, right? Right. So that's what we're looking at with the 34. We're having someone who has to challenge, is going to be challenged with his own stability, his own focus, his own ability to maintain himself without becoming restless in a situation of, oh man, they kicked me out of the office of presidency. I'm gonna get back in there no matter what I have to do, right? That kind of vibe. All right, so we're done with the 34 in relation to the 18, getting deeper insight, and the 32. Now we're going to go to the 14, possession in great measure. And I found this to be very interesting. The 25th hexagram talks about, it's called the unexpected. Some people may see it called innocence. And they use that innocence terminology because when something unexpected happens, they're saying the best way to deal with that situation is to deal with it as a child would deal with it. Not a spoiled brat, but a child, like, oh, that's interesting. Instead of trying to fix the situation. The 5th line of 25 says, use no external medicine to cure the ill. Let nature take its course. So when you have the unexpected, what happens is things that you don't expect occur. The only reason that things that we don't expect occur is because we did not notice all the other things that were going on around it. So we have an unexpected occasion or incident or situation or scenario. It's only unexpected to us. It was already in the offing. And if you read the line, you'll see that. It's only unexpected because we were unprepared for it. We didn't have the vision to see what was about to come. So when Donald Trump was inaugurated or elected for his first term, that was the unexpected. The only reason it was unexpected is because on a lot of levels, the idea, the polls were censored, the information about his notoriety or his popularity was censored. And so only those who were able to see beyond that veil that was placed upon his campaign would have been able to say, well, that was expected. So he tends to do things in that way. He tends to arrive in situations and in scenarios in what appears to be an unexpected way, but it was already, all the ducks were lined up for him to show up. Okay, now let me look at the 3rd line of 25 just to get a little more insight into what that 25th hexagram is saying. And it says here, undeserved misfortune. The cow that was tethered by someone is the wanderer's gain and a citizen's loss. Okay, so if you have property, whatever that might be, or if you have something that you covet, if you allow it to be out there for someone else to covet, and when they do, you act like, wow, somebody took that from me, then that's because you did not, like they say in Islam, secure your camel and then call on Allah. So you didn't secure your camel. You didn't secure your cow. So therefore, someone came along and took it from you. That's how it goes. All right, you were not being observant. In this particular case, as his incarnation objective, or it is showing us that This man tends to do things in a very unexpected way, show up at an unexpected time where everyone else around didn't expect him to do that. However, it also tells us that things that are unexpected happen to him. For example, I am so sure he wasn't expecting 34 counts to be taken against him in that trial. And I'm pretty sure there have been several other unexpected things that happened in his life. That's because he didn't secure himself. Okay? So we have possession in great measure. Somebody steals something from Donald Trump. He doesn't expect it. Right? Somebody, like even in terms of the assassination, there was something that he could have done in terms of securing himself with that first assassination attempt. He could have done something to secure himself. I am so sure of that. But for some reason, it did not occur. I did a reading on that. Maybe one day I'll get a chance to share that with you. So sometimes he will suffer losses, not because he had to, but because he was not paying attention. And when he pays attention, he does better. When he doesn't pay attention, he suffers losses. And so these losses could be anything from A to Z. It could be relationship-wise, it could be material, it could be anything. But if he doesn't pay attention, so I'm so sure I could just hear his mother saying, "Pay attention, Donald, pay attention." You know, pay attention. And when you pay attention, you feel you become more aware of your environment, more aware of your circumstances, and then you can prepare yourself. My mom used to always say, forewarned is forearmed. And if you pay attention to the environment, you won't be oops upside the head with the unexpected. What I also find interesting too is that with this possession in great measure right here, it means that he has talent and so on and so forth, but it also could mean that he has physical possessions. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of his physical possessions were stolen from him or taken from him in an unexpected way. And that is something that he has to watch out for. Okay, now we're going to look at fellowship with men. This hexagram is a perfect match for this hexagram 34. Being a leader, not only can he lead the people in his midst, but he has the ability to lead people from all walks of life. In other words, he has the ability to relate to individuals from all walks of life. That's what fellowship with men is about, which is he's a personable, sociable, engaging type of individual, which kind of has a lot to do with him being a Gemini, right? Being personable like that. So being a Gemini, he is personable as well. Let's look at fellowship with men. Donald Trump, with his fellowship with men, is a type of individual who would like to be surrounded by friendships, family members, individuals who support him, individuals who he can interact with in a friendly way. That's really important to him. He has a desire to connect to people on a soul level, not just frivolous, superficial relationships. Those don't work for him, right? But he also has, on the flip side of it, to deal with individuals who will undermine him, who will sabotage him, who will fight with him. And that is so clear. It's like I just read what happened over the past 4 years with Donald Trump. He will align himself and be friends with individuals, etc. And the flip side of that is those very friends, those very individuals will turn on him, will sabotage him, will slander him, will create scandals around him. And in his innocence, back to this 25th hexagram, not checking out the environment, not looking at where he's going, looking at where he's been, looking behind him instead of looking in front of him. He ends up getting himself in situations, in relationships, in interpersonal connections where he really shouldn't have been, but he was there anyway. So it'll be really interesting to see what the outcome will be of the individuals that he is choosing to be in his cabinet, because he can be influenced by the idea that these people are his friends, his comrades. These are people that he can trust. Like I said, you have to read all the lines. And one of the lines in the 13th hexagram talks about how this clique is created, this clannishness is created, because these individuals are thinking the same. They're not using or looking at anything outside of their own individual worldview. And he has to learn how to expand his worldview. And then you have the battle, the conflict between the friends, that, you know, the battle on the hill where they're fighting one another. And then you have the line that actually says, "Make America Great Again." It's the line where you put down your weapons and realize there's a bigger cause that needs to be accomplished. And so that would definitely relate to the "Make America Great Again," that there's a bigger cause beyond our personal interactions, beyond our personal likes and dislikes. There's a bigger cause. And finally, the fifth line of 13 is a governing line, and it talks about having a relationship with or interactions with individuals on a soul level. I would say that Donald Trump is very spiritual. Now, most people probably don't even want to believe that, but looking at these readings, looking at Possession in Great Measure, and looking at the 13th hexagram, Fellowship with Men, I would say if you read those two hexagrams, you will see that this is a powerful individual with a lot of talent and a lot of burden we place upon him because of his talents, but also this is a very spiritual individual. Now, how he addresses his spirituality, how he nurtures his spirituality, and I don't mean religion. I'm not talking about a religiousness type of thing. I'm talking about a spiritual sensitivity and on a soul level, that this man is pretty much, I would say, a very, very sensitive, very in touch on a soul level with individuals that he comes in contact with. And he will come in contact and has come in contact with people from all walks of life. And I can speak to this because this is part of my life path reading. I have 13, which was so funny. When I saw that come up for Donald Trump, I was like, oh no, don't tell me I got character traits as like Donald Trump. Ooh. All right, so the next, I'm going to stop this. I've been struggling with this, forget about live streaming. I could never do that. Maybe one day, but I don't know if I ever get that together. But I'm going to end this video with just a little caveat on how difficult it was for me to use this Zoom app and get everything going. It was like, holy moly, how am I going to get this to work? How many times do I have to do it over? Where's my script? I don't feel comfortable. But anyway, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for listening. And I want to thank you for any comments you leave below. Please leave your comments below. And if you're interested in getting a reading, let me know. I will be more than happy to set up an appointment with you to get a life path reading. In the meantime, if you would like to get a yearly focus reading, let me know about that as well. So peace and blessings to you, your family, and loved ones. And see you in the next video.